What do we get out of doing piracy?
I'll let Jack start with that.
We make the Care Bears real angry.
Welcome to the Mongrel Court Citizen Piracy Talk Show. I'm your host, Agent Letty. The Mongrel Court is a new video series released at the end of every month on our Mongrel Squad YouTube channel, where we will pick a topic relevant to piracy within the Star Citizen universe and discuss its impact on gameplay within Star Citizen. We may dabble in a bit of light theory crafting, but the purpose of this show is to focus on topics that impact piracy gameplay now and the near future. This month's topic of discussion is why bother doing piracy now? So let's get on with the show. Welcome to the part where you're looking at the talking heads right now. On the far my left, your right. Actually, correction, my right, your left. You've got Dobbs. What is that picture there, by the way?
My profile picture?
Yes.
Well, for those who know, and for those who don't know, there's a show out there, I believe it's on Stars, it's called Black Sails, and it's a historical piece based on the golden age of piracy on New Providence Island. It's a mixture of fiction and nonfiction, so it serves as a prequel to the famous book Treasure Island, and so it mixes fictional characters from the book with real-life historical pirates from that era, and it seamlessly mixes together. And my profile picture depicts the main character of the story, the main protagonist. His name is Captain Flint, and fucking if I were to sum him up in one sentence, fucking Blackbeard was a fucking little bitch compared to Flint.
So it's Captain Flint from Black Sails.
Yeah,
That's the short answer, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to get to that point. I'm like, listening to the backstory, I'm like, okay, this is a...
It's my favorite show, bro. I'll fucking shill it until the day I die.
Alright, moving on. Next to Dobbs, you'll see a tribute to Delamar, who will be leaving us very, very soon. Probably by the time you are watching this, it'll be gone. Going back to its home
Rip.
in Nyx. And then to the right of that,
It's
you've
me!
got... What are we calling you?
CosmicJackalope.
CosmicJackalope.
Shock.
Right. I know you... There's more than one name that you like to go by. We
Well,
normally just go Jack.
whenever it's space related, it's cosmic.
Cosmic.
And
right.
you can call me CosmicJackalope, Jackalope, Jack, Shitstain, whatever you want. I'll probably answer if it's directed towards me.
Fucking Jack.
Alright, no worries, Shitstain.
Don't you want to know about my picture?
Actually, yeah, I should probably ask. Yeah.
All right.
What's your picture? What's going on with there?
This is an official portrait of the brave, valiant Medal of Honor recipient Fluffington Chamberlain, who stormed the Confederates during the Civil War. No, it's a jackalope with some crossbones and a helmet that says "Dirigo" on it. Custom art. But
I was waiting for you to go on about a show on Stars where it represents the main protagonist and waffle on for about 5 minutes before getting to the name.
it's actually the spirit animal of the abolitionist John Brown. Didn't really come up in the show, but we know.
Okay. So there is a backstory to it.
No, there's not.
Oh, damn it. Alright. Anyway, so yeah. Today we're going to be talking about a topic. This series is new, so we're kind of feeling it out at the moment. But the topic for this month is why bother doing piracy now? So
Why bother?
Why bother?
Why bother, dude?
Well,
it doesn't exist. Fucking, it's not as profitable as the other gameplay loops in this game. So why the fuck are we doing it? Why does it matter? Why are we doing it? Why are we wasting our time doing it?
In truth, you shouldn't. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. No, you should be doing piracy, or you should at the very least acknowledge its existence and welcome it with open arms as we steal everything that you have and make you really question whether or not running unescorted through high traffic trade routes is a good idea. Basically, we're the emergent gameplay. We're the thing that adds content and chaos and randomness and unpredictability and makes this a living, breathing world rather than Space Truck Simulator.
I am the reason grown men lie awake at night.
Hey, Dobbs, I'm making some potatoes au gratin later. I got like a couple sacks of potato. Can I borrow some of your edge? Just a little bit to cut through all that potato.
Oh man.
Yeah, here you go, man.
This
I'll
is
give you some.
this is gonna.
Oh
be
god,
a pain in
I
the
sliced
ass
my
to edit.
hands open. It's too edgy.
All right, so the topic is why bother doing piracy now? We've kind of already started getting into it, but we're breaking this down into 3 subtopics as well. So the first subtopic of why bother doing piracy now is why do we want to do this now? Like when you look at Star Citizen, the state that it's in, the direction that CIG's been pushing, you're not really seeing too much content being pushed towards piracy. It's like little bits and pieces. We're kind of just being fed scraps at the moment. So, why would you subject yourself to this now?
So, I mean, do you want to go down the line? Do you want to go down the line and pick people, or can we just?
Yeah,
just
you
kinda
guys
rattle
just
off?
talk. Just whoever talks.
So, okay, so I think it boils down to 2 main things. The first of which being, everybody knows and acknowledges that piracy is and will be an intended gameplay loop that will be supported by Cloud Imperium when it gets its well-earned attention. But one of the reasons why we're doing this now is because if we don't show the community and the developers that people are doing piracy and it is a viable thing now, if we don't do any of that, then the devs won't bother giving it its attention anytime sooner. So they'll just keep it on the back burner while they work on, other things that they deem more important. So if we show them that, hey, people are out there doing this, we've been doing it since 3.0, and we've been adapting our methods and tools and things that we use and how we go about it since we've started, based on the content that comes out, based on the changes that are being made, and it still works now, so more than ever, with boxes now persisting from dead cargo ships, from the rock mining. Like the 3.11 was one of the best patches for piracy that we could have ever gotten, as well as the second reason being the verse just needs it. If we're creating a space MMO or a space simulator, as a lot of people like to call it, there needs to be some level of threat. Otherwise, all of the guns and all of the weapons and all of the PMC orgs and everything, it'll just be meaningless, right? Because I guarantee you, no real, no dedicated person, no dedicated member of the verse really wants to just sit around fighting NPCs forever, because then it gets to a point where it just becomes formulaic, it gets too easy, and then it becomes not even an issue. So the community needs people like us to keep them on their toes and to make their gameplay more dynamic and more exciting, because it's going to force them. What we're doing is going to force them to seek out help, make friends, form communities around trying to hunt us down, And you know, it's like what we do affects the community in a very positive way. You know, believe it or not, with all the fucking shitty comments we've gotten from people and all the fucking, you know,
and we
negative responses.
we love every one of them, honestly.
You know, not saying that, you know, we've gotten everything from overwhelmingly positive feedback from people, as well as, you know, death threats towards our families from people. Like, it's crazy, but we know for a fact that what we're doing is good for the community based on what kind of gameplay it's created in response to it. You know, like PMC orgs have come out and started, you know, holding up trade ports and trade routes, and they would just hold there and just, you know, protect the people while they're pirating. Like that is an established, like, gameplay route for these people now. For people that just want to just do PvP, they can just hunt us down. You know what I mean? So instead of going after you know, helpless miners and traders, they can go after us.
Yeah,
we're looking for it.
We're a very vital part of the ecosystem itself. Without some kind of antagonizing force, which NPCs will never be, as long as any time that you get quantum interdicted by an NPC, the solution is literally full throttle until you can jump away. There's never going to be a reason for you to change what you are doing, to kind of reassess and, you know, present you with a problem that you actually might have to change what you're doing to solve it. And like Dobbs is saying, PMCs do not exist without a threat to fight. Bounty hunters do not exist without criminals to chase. And no bounty hunter wants to, you know, just be the person going around collecting NPC bounties. There's a reason why people love to chase player bounties. It's fun. You know, you have not just the challenge itself of taking out another player, another equal human being. You have the immense satisfaction that if you win, you bested another person, not some crappy program that relies on a really shitty server architecture in the background, or a lack of priorities, or whatever you want to call it, that, you know, stands there as you kill his buddy, his buddy's buddy, and then him. You know, that's not entertaining. And even when NPC fighting does work well, you know, it works well in some dogfights, you know, they're not as challenging. You run into somebody that's, you know, dogfighting you in a sentinel that's an NPC, they're pretty easy to beat. It might take a little longer than some of the other things that you'll fight, you know, the Mustang Deltas that only NPCs and me when I'm pissing off Dobbs fly. But, you know, you're running against a player, you're running against somebody, you know, maybe they got dual sticks, maybe they're flying an arrow with, you know, laser scatter guns that are getting within 2 inches of your exhaust thrusters every time they fire, and you can't even keep track of them. And that has to force you to reassess what you are doing. And if you're not reassessing what you're doing and trying to adapt, you're really settling in and going to get bored out of your mind of this game, or you want a boring game, which is fine, but there's parts of the game that will remain boring, and you should do those. Whereas the things that are highest risk and highest reward should be exciting and fun and challenging to everybody. That's about it. That's what I got.
So, yeah, we kind of
actually I have one more thing to add.
All right.
It's really fun to see Care Bears realize they don't have control of the situation.
Fuck, you gotta warn me when you say shit like that. I was drinking.
Oh, well, you gotta. So this is the selfish part of being a pirate. This is what will attract a lot of people to piracies. You know, there's a lot of people in Star Citizen who, I mean, they're playing Star Citizen because it is a game where you can throw your money at and just sit on forums and shit talk, or, you know, you can go out and fly around your yachts with your yacht club, and, you know, it feels like everything is very safe and sanitary, and, you know, it can't be fucked with, but it can be fucked with, and it's very fun to remind you of that fact.
Yeah, it's we're kind of going off the topic a little bit with some of the points, as valid as they are. So like bringing it back towards like what's, you know, why do we want to do this now? And Dobbs brought up the point, you know, like if nobody's doing it, no one's testing it, and you know, piracy is a game loop, it does need to be tested. If nobody's doing that, CIG sits there and goes, well, there's nothing to do with it yet, and you know, we need to flesh out the gameplay more, and we won't bother doing that until you know, like later in the future. Whereas, you know, something that we kind of adopted with our attitude when it came to doing piracy. Just fixing up my chair. Something that, you know, the philosophy of Mongrel Squad here is that, you know, use what you can, use what you've got to do what you can.
Yep. And
adopting that philosophy is the reason why we say we can do piracy now. And CIG, like, we are in contact with developers at different points in time when it comes to like things that we do when it's related to piracy. And they're sitting there going, you know, like, this is great, you guys, you know, need to keep, you know, pushing the envelope, see what you can do more, you know, keep going. Even though we don't really get that much in terms of like mechanics and stuff like that, we will look at what is presented before us and we'll go, all right, how do we make this work for, you know, to meet our ends? The idea behind piracy is, you know, like, it's the mindset that we have adopted doesn't fit what everybody has in their head when it comes to being a space pirate, which is, you know, you pull up alongside the ship, you board the ship, you take this stuff, and, you know, you put it on your own. You can't do that yet. That's the reality. But there's other ways that you can do piracy. So we've had a mental shift ourselves to be able to do that. So part of the reason why we do it now is to present what other ways you can actually do piracy in. Like, how do you generate, you know, playable content when you're just handed the pieces? And like, nobody's told us to put this together. Nobody sits there and says, you know, like, make piracy work. You know, like, CIG hasn't tasked us to do it. They've seen what we've done and they're going, hey, that's great, you guys should keep going. But nobody sits there and tells us, you know, like, this is how you do this thing, this is how you do that thing. You know, this is how you use a quantum snare to pull out a target that's moving between these 2 points. We worked that out ourselves. They explained the high level concept of it, but, you know, pulling out a caterpillar, making at the right place. Nobody told us how to do that. We had to work it out ourselves. So
do a lot of testing.
And that's one of the things that, you know, like, it kind of doesn't get appreciated in that sort of sense, is like, why do we want to do this now? We're backers like everyone else, and we want to test our game loop like everyone else. And even though it's not the whole sexy, you know, like, well, you can board ships, contrary to popular belief, but taking the cargo off the ship for yourself, it's not that yet. But there's other ways of doing piracy, and we look at that and we're like, all right, well, you know, how do we make this work for ourselves? How do we generate the fun that we're looking for in this game with what we've got? It took a long time for people to come around to the concept of using beacons as a method of being able to do a transaction between players to transfer credits. The first thing I thought when I saw the beacons being introduced back in 3.2 was like, oh, now we've got a method of transferring credits between players. And, you know, the amount of people, like, I'd bring it up in chat and it's like, you know, oh, I can't pay my crew. And I'm like, yeah, you can. Just create this certain beacon, create a, was it a combat assist beacon? And, you know, transfer the credits that way. And people are like, that's not how you transfer credits. You can't do that. It's like, yeah, you can. Well, the difference between like a beacon transfer and what we've got with a MoTrader app when it comes to transferring credits is literally a time delay. So instead of being able to select the person and hit send after entering the amount, the beacon system was setting up the beacon, hoping that the person picked it up, And if they did, accepting that they picked it up and then waiting. That sort of mentality, like in creating, you know, a method of being able to transfer credits between players, CIG never intended that as a method of being able to do that. Like, you know, they were of the mindset, okay, we'll create this system where you'll be able to transfer credits between players, you know, through like a banking app. But this beacon system is so that we can try and encourage emergent gameplay. Well, you know, it never really happened in that sort of capacity because turns out players don't trust each other. I don't know why. But what we were able to do was, you know, adapt it to what we wanted. And that's what we've taken, like the concept, like that mindset of taking something that we can see and doing something else with it to achieve what we want. That's what we do. And we present that to CIG as something that we are able to actually present to others and go, all right, this is what we're doing. This is, you know, like, it doesn't matter what you're saying that this is intended or not. We're able to do this. And, you know, it doesn't matter if it doesn't fit your definition behind what you want it to be. It is what it is. And, you know, it's here now. We're presenting it to CIG and for everybody else to see, and you know, they just love the fact that people are taking something that they're building and doing more with it beyond what they're actually building itself. So for us, like why we do piracy now, it's about not only the gameplay aspect, but it's also about like being able to, you know, test and present ideas and to be able to do things that you know aren't intended, and go, you know, take an idea and push it as far as you can, and go, okay, I'm making this work this way. So a lot of people, like, they don't like that. Like when, you know, you'll see pushback on Spectrum and on Reddit when it comes to the concept of piracy and stuff like that. And they'll call us griefers because at this point in time, you know, why bother? Because it's an alpha. And it's like, well, you know, well, if it's an alpha, why bother doing anything? Oh, because it needs to be tested. Well, believe it or not, piracy isn't there enough to be tested. You know, the concept behind finding your target, intercepting, interdicting your target, disabling them, boarding your target, negotiating with your target if they're willing to. If they don't want to negotiate, then taking their ship. And, you know, we've had to push pretty hard onto CIG to say, look, you need to fix bugs that are associated with this one particular mechanic that you gave us. In this case, it was spawning of cargo boxes. That's been in since 3.0, and it breaks every few patches. And the only people who push for that are pirates to get it fixed. And it's part of the reason why is because we're the only ones that really use it. So, you know, like, if we weren't there testing and doing that sort of stuff and picking up on these bugs and going, hey, this thing that we use is broken, can you fix it? CIG would just let it fall to the wayside. And there are plenty of players out there, people who are looking at Star Citizen that haven't bought in yet. They see, you know, like, the game and they want to be a space pirate too. But when they see that, you know, like, CIG isn't advertising it, like, it's a footnote at the moment. Still, piracy is a footnote. Even though they try and say, you know, like, it's an arm of, you know, what's happening. It's like, well, it doesn't feel like it. But, you know, it is what it is for now. But we can make do with what we got. You know, we've maintained that motto. Use what you have to do what you can. And because of that, we've taken it as far as, you know, we have now. So that's part of the reason why we do piracy. You know, why do we want to do this now? We want to test our game loop. And we can. It may not be, you know, the final realization of it, but it's the stepping stones. These are, you know, activities of piracy that players will do as they learn. You guys have anything more to say about that before we move on?
No, I'm good with that. It's, you know, you explained it just as well as any of us really can. So
the next question: how do you go about doing piracy?
well, we can go about it in many different ways. It just boils down to what kind of target we want to hit. So we can go through it, you know, scenario by scenario. You know, if we're hitting a cargo hauler, so let's say a caterpillar, for example, we barely use lethal weapons. You know, the main weapon that we use to well, before I even get into weapons, our main goal when hitting a caterpillar is not to destroy it. That's why we don't use lethal weapons. Our main goal is to seize it. Not even seize it. Our main goal is to make sure it cannot escape while negotiations begin. Because during the interdiction sequence, usually the guys on our boarding team, since they don't currently have a job, they message the target and present the ransom demand. And at that point, we would then negotiate the target's release. 9 times out of 10, though, that doesn't work. Either due to DMs and channel invites just not working, or the more likely scenario of the target just not cooperating, ignoring the calls, ignoring the invites, ignoring everything, or just straight up blatantly refusing, saying fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. If that happens, we then forcefully guide the ship down to the surface, board the ship, and seize it by force by killing everyone on board. And the reason why we kill everyone on board is because at that point, negotiations are over. If you are not willing to negotiate your release, and if you're not willing to cooperate with us and talk with us, we're just going to take it. And that's just it. Like, people, like, I've seen a lot of people, you know, get so upset, like, oh, why'd you just kill him? Well, it's like, we kill him after we try to contact them. If they don't answer, then that's it. We're not going to fucking waste time waiting. And we do this by using QED ships, EMP ships. We use warlocks because it's like it's the best balance between speed and power. And we just EMP suppress the ship all the way until it reaches the ground, or it comes to a complete stop if it gets up out of orbit. And yeah, and believe it or not, we train for it. We train for it every week. We run new players through the training. We tell them how to work with us, how to operate these ships, how to respond to certain actions during these interdiction sequences. And we've been doing this for a really long time, and we've found that our method of doing piracy is the most viable way, because when we do this, we don't want to give the target any options for escape. By doing it the way that we do, we are eliminating every single option that the target has, other than the terms that we present to them. So, like, if they want to jump out, okay, we have a QED ship. They can't jump out. If they want to fucking try to fight, okay, we have more ships. They can't fight. If they want to try to self-destruct the ship, okay, we'll just board it and fucking take it from them by force. And even if it does blow up, we'll just fucking take the boxes. I'll take a fucking boxes over nothing. You know, so when it comes to rock mining, like, we can hunt rock miners as well. And there are so many different ways that you can do it, and it's hard to nail down like one particular method because we have many. But normally we just take our curb stomping principles that we use for cargo ships, and then we can just apply it to rock miners and ship miners. The beautiful thing about our curb stomping method is that we can apply it to almost anything. Like, we can apply it to caterpillars, freelancers, cutlasses, MSRs, rocks, everything.
I'd love to do it to a reclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we don't always use that curb stomping method for rock miners. Like, sometimes, like, we do stupid shit, which you've actually seen on our channel, like, if people watch us consistently. Like, we've actually taken ground vehicles and driven up to the target and snuck on board. Like, there are so many different ways that you can do it. Like, I would say it's limitless. It all just depends on how creative you can get with it and how efficient you can get with it. So, and then
someday I'll hit a caterpillar. Someday I'm gonna hit a caterpillar with a battle pillar. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes hitting, moles and prospectors is also, it's basically the same principle for cargo haulers. And like, we've done more intense hits where we've snared ships out of dead space. We've snared ships coming into Lagrange points. We've done things called leading snares where we would see a ship. We would know a ship's assumed destination point to go sell their commodities. We would then jump to that location and set up a snare, and then we would catch them in that bubble right as they arrive. Like, we've done those types of hits before. And yeah, I mean, the ways you can do it, I feel like, are really viable and really lucrative if you know what you're doing.
So yeah, Jack, what are your thoughts? Pretty much we're talking about, how do you go about doing piracy?
I mean, Dobbs and I are both the main officers of North America. We work together a lot. We have very similar opinions on how things should get done. So curb stomping, especially when we're talking about a large ship, especially something that we might not be able to immediately profit from. So that case, we're talking about caterpillars, or maybe if you find a mole that's fully laden up and we want to try to hold that ransom, aggressively fine it for a toll, or would you need to purchase your mandatory mining license or face the consequences. But then there's another side, which is when it comes to rock mining, if we're specifically going after rock mining, when we can still, in most situations, hit it with a curb stomp. And the curb stomp is a great thing for us because it like Dobbs is mentioning, it's incredibly universal. We can apply it to damn near every situation that we're trying to get control of a ship. And, it's simple. It gets the job done. But with rock mining, you can go a little more aggressive with it. So, I think my favorite hit that we've done recently, we went after somebody who had a Valkyrie. They had this whole little mining operation going on, and we scouted them out. We found that they had a Valkyrie with a rock, and they had another ship in the area that was mining, and they had some fighter escorts. And we were running a pretty small crew, so we didn't really have the people on hand to do a curb stomp. So what we ended up doing, we had a Pisces with me and one other person on it, and everyone else that was there basically hopped in combat ships to take care of any of the escorts of that other mining ship that came around. And what we ended up doing is take that Pisces, and we slipped in as low and as quick as possible right between the rock and the Valkyrie, and we hopped out, went on the ship, and just cleared out who was in it and took what we wanted and left. And all the while that was happening, their escorts were just too focused on saving themselves from that fighter escort. So
yep. There's
a lot of ways to do things, and that's something we couldn't do that to pull off a caterpillar. Maybe a Carrack, but not a caterpillar. Carrack, just try to
land in the hangar. Landed in the hangar.
Big dick energy, that Pisces in the hangar before they get moving. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm down to try. I just don't know if it will work. But yeah, no, it's just pretty much everything. There's the best possible way to take charge of that situation for us and get control of whatever is valuable. We've had mining operations where we have a person inside the mining operation, just on a mole. They're one of the miners, and as soon as we're like, okay, it's time to take the ship over, and they just hop out the turret and
slaughter the crew,
murder the crew, and
people make it too easy. People really make it too easy.
And that's another thing. I think there's this term in at least U.S. military culture, which is OPSEC, operational security, which is this idea of there's some very simple things that you can do to protect what you're doing and make it harder for people. And pretty much the first basic thing is that you don't constantly tell people what you're doing. So I don't know how many targets we've found. It's literally it's practically fallen in our lap. People have advertised it to us, and it's like, yeah, we're doing this thing, and then it's just a matter of getting together at the right time, getting on the right server, and we already know where they're gonna be, and that's that.
See, yeah, right now, and this is, like the current question about, how do you go about doing piracy as what's been identified? Like,
oh yeah,
we have our method on how we do it, but there's many different ways. Like the concept behind piracy is you're stealing stuff from other people. Like
yes,
that's its core concept. So when
it's the core thing that it's the core thing that separates griefers and pirates, which is something that this community is not great at identifying. But the difference is a griefer is killing you for the point of killing you or inconveniencing you in some way. A pirate is doing it in a way that they're doing it to make profit. We may not make a lot of profit. We may not arguably make enough profit that it's worth it in the eyes of others, but we're doing this to make money, and we do make money.
Yeah. One thing that I do want to avoid is going down that griefer route, the griefer versus pirate route, because that will be a topic that we'll address eventually. That we'll have an entire segment on that.
I love that topic.
For this one, for now, we'll just stick to what we're talking about when it's piracy itself. So,
so
I can go on about how you can go about doing piracy. Like, being the leader of Mongrel Squad, I am the one who trains everyone in how to do piracy. I've trained all the officers. I've nearly trained everybody in the org, and anybody that I haven't trained in the org has been trained by officers who have been trained by me. So when it comes to doing piracy, if there's anybody that's going to tell you how you go about it, I can tell you. I'm normally not the type of person that toots their own horn, but I can say with, a pretty good level of confidence that I know how to do piracy in Star Citizen. So if you want to know how to do it, I'm one of the people that you ask. That being said though, the reason why, like how do we go about doing piracy? Reason why we go about it the way that we do is because of limitations. Like curb stomping was born, it's a tactic born out of necessity when CIG changed the way that high-speed combat worked in 3.9. Prior to that, we did something that I called pursuit-based piracy, where the idea, and this is a concept, like a lot of cargo haulers, they don't like to stop, they don't like being stopped, turns out. And so, being the accommodating pirates that we were, like, during the time while we're trying to disable them, our intent was to contact them, disable them concurrently, but try and push them into space and do the negotiations on the move. And if they paid, then it'd be like, sweet, we got our credits, just let them go. The problem though is that during that entire phase they're accelerating, they hit max speed. Now the high speed combat update, well, I'll take a step back before we go there. We had to address an issue where over 500 meters a second, you started experiencing huge amounts of bloody desync. And we had come up with a method, and there's a video. I'll probably put a card in this video here to link to it, called the Caterpillar Diamond Heist. And in that video,
was actually one of the videos that actually made me decide to join Mongrel Squad. It was that one and the Salty Mike one from around the same time.
Yeah,
I watched those too, and I was like, I need to be in on this. This is some fun shit.
I'll tell you now, that Diamond Heist video I almost did not post because the audio quality was terrible and I wasn't happy with it. And then I got drunk one night and just went, fuck it, I'll just post it. And it's actually got the most views on it.
Yeah.
A little bit of org trivia right there. That said, though, like pursuit-based piracy, we come up with a method. There was an issue with disabling a ship at that time. EMP used to be really powerful, where you could just knock out the shield, like a ship in one hit with an EMP. By the time like 3.9 had rolled around, you needed to take down a shield quadrant, and then you could disable a ship. Later on, CIG updated it further, and you had to take down shield quadrant just to take down the rest of the shields with an EMP, and then another EMP to disable. But back in 3.9, one shield quadrant down, EMP to disable the ship complete. The problem is, though, is that moving at, you know, like 900 meters a second, Caterpillar does 893 meters per second at max speed. It could be a couple of meters off. The problem there was that at that speed, with a lot of the people that we have in the org, like if we're in an EU server, the Oceanic guys, us, you know, Aussies, buddy, and anybody else in the Oceanic region, we're not hitting shit. Where we think we're hitting a target, we're not. Like our shots are like, you know, 300 to 500 meters off. So we have to like manually compensate for that, and we got to fight, you know, ESP to do that. So we came up with a method using torpedoes. At the time, torpedoes weren't strong enough to kill a Caterpillar, but they were strong enough to drop a shield quadrant. So we'd use a Caterpillar, and you saw this in the Diamond Heist, where we put the Caterpillar in front and essentially tried to fire the torpedo. And this, the point behind this story, and I'll get to it a little bit later, the torpedo that we would fire, we had to make sure that we got in front to compensate for the desync that the torpedo would experience when the client was being told, the target client was being told, hey, you got a torpedo that's about to hit you. Because 9 times out of 10, if you fire the torpedo from depth, torpedo could never catch the target and it would just explode harmlessly behind it. So we get in front just so that the torpedo had the chance of being able to hit it. And if we got a successful hit, we'd then have the EMP ship, which is like, you know, flying within range at max speed, trying to stay on the target. As soon as they saw that shield quadrant go down, EMP goes off, ship is disabled, and then we're EMP suppressing. The last part of EMP suppressing, we'd already developed. But when it came to like 3.9 and the changes that they introduced with high-speed combat, like, and the changes to the way that EMP affected ships, doing a pursuit wasn't viable. Like, we just could not take down a target. Like, we'd done so many tests. We made it so that it was like baby mode for ourselves to start off with, and we were still struggling to take down a target using the pursuit method. So we had to pivot on that. And we went, alright, well, if we can't take them down at speed, then we have to make sure they never reach it. And the point about why, you know, like that entire story is like, you know, how do we go about doing piracy? Well, it goes back to that point of, you know, why do we want to do this now? How do we go about doing piracy? We test the game mechanics. We take what we know and we make it, we mold it to, you know, fit what we do. Why do we want to do this now? We want to test the game. We want to make piracy, you know, like the best mechanic for us as possible and have fun while doing it. Well, in order to do that, we have to be able to work out how to do piracy itself. So we have to come up with the tactics to make piracy viable, and we have to like essentially take what CIG throws at us and sit there and juggle it and go, all right, well, how do we make this work so that we can still achieve our goal? Because the other mechanics that are involved with piracy still work. You know, the transferring of credits, boarding and seizing ships, that all still worked. Blowing up ships and picking up the boxes, that still worked at that period of time. And that's how the Diamond Heist finished. But when it came to how piracy, you know, like how to do piracy throughout all the patches, like it was a lot of testing for us. A lot of testing and a lot of adjusting. And that's one of the things, like we test things that most people don't do. A lot of what we test, like we test snaring, we test QED. QED was marketed towards bounty hunters and law enforcement. They fucking rarely use it.
Yeah.
I can tell you now.
Oh, the irony!
I can count on my hand how many times I've seen a bounty hunter show up with QED that isn't an NPC.
Yeah, I've seen pirates, both us and other groups, use that more. I love that the Cuddy Blue is just a pirate ship now. They can put as many police accoutrements on it they want. Nobody uses it for bounty hunting. Bounty hunters use dedicated dogfighters. They're not using that. Now, maybe that'll change. Prison cells mean something. But right now, they don't. So right now, all it is it's got a little cargo space for booty. It's got space for drop troopers if you're doing it. That was our dedicated drop ship for a little while, was the Cutlass Blue.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But to finish off, like, you know, how do you go about doing piracy? You look at what you've got. You pick the goal that you want to achieve, and in this case, when it comes to doing piracy, it is taking something from someone else against their will. And you work out how you make it work for yourself. If you adopt that, you won't need tutorials on how to do piracy. You will work it out yourself. That being said though, if you watch our videos on our YouTube channel, you'll get a pretty good idea on how to, on different methods of doing piracy. Alright, do you guys have anything more to add to, you know, how you go about doing piracy before we move on?
Man.
No, not really.
Alright. Moving on. What do we get out of doing piracy?
I'll let Jack start with that.
We make the Care Bears real angry. And that just brings the greatest level of joy. No. So what do we get out of piracy? I mean, first off, there's the obvious monetary reward. It is not as fleshed out as others, but it is like mining, like bounty hunting, like being a merc. It's a career path. It is a way for you to accrue the UEC that you need to buy the quantum drives, the weapons, the shield generators, the ships that you want. And we've made fucking millions and millions and millions of credits doing piracy in this org. So that's the first part. The second part is what we get out of it. I mean, we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but it's really important for us that if we, you know, that we're doing piracy now, long term, not only does CIG see people are already doing piracy. Like, this is something people want to do. This is something people are pushing the edge to do, and new updates when they come in should take that into account and make sure that things are as easy to do or at least as possible to do. You know, we get screwed over enough sometimes with game mechanics that just prevent us from being able to do things. But it's also kind of lets us have a lot of input on how piracy should develop. Like, we are kind of the people out here saying, hey, this is what should be done. You know, it'd be great if such and such happened with systems when they're implemented so that we could use them for X, Y, and Z. You got anything, Dobbs?
Yeah, so like we get a lot of things out of it, you know. Like, in regards to monetary value, piracy is still among the lower sources of income. You know, it is what it is.
Salvaging does. I'll say that right.
Yeah,
now.
right.
Make more than salvages.
Actually, no. There was a point. There was actually a point in time recently where a group of pirates could actually make more than bounty hunters in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was like at the tail end of 3.11. Like, it was before the PvE missions got buffed, and we noticed this. Like, especially given our tally in 3.11 was around 18 million stolen between the patch in the span of that patch. Like, a group, we could make more in an hour than a single bounty hunter, even a group of bounty hunters could do in an hour. Obviously, it's not really like that anymore since the PvE missions got buffed. But like I said, I've said this in so many places. I've said this on Spectrum. I've said this in YouTube comments. I've said this in conversations with people, where if we were doing this for the money, we would just be trading and mining and bounty hunting just like everybody else. Like what we
We'd
get
still
out of
do
it.
it better than them, though.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Don't get me started. Okay, so
We'd
very
still
quick
do it better.
segue. It is something that you as we as pirates run into so often is just the phrase, "What the fuck is this person doing?" Because
Why is
since
this
we are
taking
always
so long?
testing things, we're always like we're out there doing things, and we're playing a lot more than the average gamer for Star Citizen. So we will sit down and look at something, and we'll like be waiting for a target to do something, and we will just be, what the fuck is that person doing? Because it's almost infuriating. Like I would have been like, if I had just sat down today and said I was going to do rock mining, I would have made shit tons more money than they did. But it's just,
Very
I don't
strange
know,
behavior.
man. It's like people don't respect our time as pirates. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I know, right?
It's very strange behavior. It's almost as if they know we're tracking them and they're just like deliberately doing a shitty job just to fuck with us. And like,
Yeah.
It turns out
even if
everyone
that
else
was the
is
thing,
just in on the
that
joke.
would be fun. That'd be funny if that was the case in certain areas. But
There's just a secret Discord channel somewhere. It's
but-
like, never invite a Mongrel Squad to the server, and they just send a message, "Hey, such and such is on the server. Slow
But
down
back
what
to the
you're
point
doing."
that I was saying, though, back to what I was saying, what we get out of it, other than the monetary value, goes far beyond the monetary value. Like the type of, like you'll hear this from members that have come and gone. You know, the reason why they joined us is because of the teamwork and of the teamwork and the organization that we have. Like, and we read all of our applications, and we've talked to all of our members, and the vast majority of them have said they joined it not only because they wanted to do piracy, but it's because they felt like we were doing it the best, and our teamwork and organization was the major selling point. Like what they saw in our videos, like, wow, these guys can really go.
You heard
That
it here
was-
first, guys.
You know,
Pirates
so,
are
like,
one of the most organized orgs in Star Citizen.
So, and more on that, like the camaraderie that we get out of it, like, and even like the satisfaction after a successful hit, like you can't find that anywhere else really. Like there's not much of a rush of dopamine or so much satisfaction after you do a successful trade run. Like that just doesn't happen there. Same thing with mining.
Have you like fractured a rock where it just hasn't blown up in your face, and it just like you fracture it, and the way that you do it is like you just edge the energy enough so that it's just staying on the green, and when it hits that 100%, the rock just falls apart as opposed to exploding everywhere.
It's a fucking adrenaline rush. I get it, dude, but but just the amount of gameplay you can get out of doing piracy, it's something that you can't get doing anything else in the game. Not to the level of excitement or just detail, for lack of a better word, that you can get. Like you can get it sometimes just like straight up PvPing, like all these murder hobos going around and screen lickers fucking hanging around Grimhex and Port Olisar and fucking shooting everything that they see. It's like, yeah, I guess that can be fun, but you know, when it comes to piracy, it's like you never really know what you're gonna get, and that's what we really enjoy about it. That's the thing that we enjoy most about doing it. It's just you never know what you're gonna get. You know, it's awesome.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Agents.
So yeah, so what do we get out of it? There's, you know, the high level talk that I always give when people ask, you know, like, why are you guys bothering to do piracy now? Even though they'll, you know, the sentence beforehand was like, piracy's not in the game. You know, why would you bother doing it now? What do you get out of it? Well, experience. Like, I can tell you now, I've been doing piracy pretty much from the point that we were able to take somebody else's ship. Even in Arena Commander, when the Arena Commander module was a thing, like trying to get into other people's ships. Especially during free flight. and take their ship and fly off with it. Like, I've been doing that for so long now, and the lessons that you've learnt, like from, you know, day dot all the way through to now, are there. You know, when we got 3-0 and we had the ability to fucking destroy ships and, you know, cargo ships, and they're essentially loot pinatas, and they drop all their boxes, and I went, yeah, sweet, we got the first tier. This is tier 0 piracy. Until I started doing it, I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't want to do this. I don't want to, blew up a caterpillar, and I'm like, oh, this is fucked. I don't want to have to pick up all these boxes. Did it. Went through that experience, and I'm like, it would be nice if they added extra tools that enabled us to be able to pick up these boxes. But
it's funny you say that. I literally just saw, I think it was on Reddit, somebody posted a picture of the new Xeno threat. And it was just 2 people inside the wreckage ship, rapid fire loading a freelancer. It's just,
yeah.
grab, fling. I'm just thinking to myself, aren't these supposed to be like fragile cargoes? Grab, fling.
Yeah. Right. But that's a I guess kind of the point that I'm trying to make here is that the idea behind, you know, like, what do we get out of it? We get an experience base that we can iterate on. As each patch comes in, because of the experience base that we have, we're able to build up on it. The previous point that I made, you know, like, how do you go about doing piracy? And I talked about the progression of where we went from pursuit-based piracy to curb stomping. Like, we wouldn't have got to curb stomping if we didn't do pursuit-based piracy. We had to build on that experience base. And by doing that, by being challenged, you know, by CIG changing the way that the game works, by iterating on their, you know, the game itself, and expand, you know, like providing limitations and expansions in other, you know, different parts of the game, we were able to evolve and adapt quicker than what other people could. You know, there aren't too many active pirate orgs out there because it takes a lot of time and dedication right now to do what we do. I personally would like to see that maintained as piracy is iterated, you know, throughout the different patches, that the barrier of entry to piracy is still kept high, but I don't want to be kept so high that it's, you know, like, you have to join an org to be able to do it. I'd still like to see, you know, those solo pirates out there who are doing their thing, you know, like hitting rock miners and stuff like that. I enjoy, you know, like hearing their stories whenever I'm streaming, interacting with people in Spectrum, interacting with people on YouTube about, you know, like how they're going about and doing solo piracy, because I look at what they're doing, I'm like, all right, well, if they can do that on their own, what can we do with a group that knows what they're doing when it comes to doing piracy? When, you know, like, it's almost, you know, the mentality of, you know, like, you know, Spartans, bloody, you know, like 300 were able to stop King Xerxes plus the 7,000 Greeks. I
was going to say, it's like, there's a lot more.
At the pass, but, you know, like later on, you know, they were battling, you know, thousands of Spartans, and it's like, well, you know, you got one pirate there doing this thing. What is a team of pirates? What are they capable of doing? You know, how do we push the envelope? You know, so what do we get out of it? Like, the experience is there, but the stories as well. You know, like the videos that we have on YouTube, that's an archive of our history to a certain degree. Of, you know, and it tells the story of the org, of, you know, the type of hits that we've done, of, you know, our successes. We know all our failures as well. We don't really showcase them too often unless there's a teaching point to it, or there's a reason behind it. You know, like there's a bug to showcase the CIG that they need to fix. Whether or not they fix it immediately is another thing. But
whether they fix it at all, I mean,
it'll come soon.
Eventually, yeah. Soon, yeah. TM.
But at the end of the day, what we get out of it is fun. People join Mongrel Squad, and Dobbs brought this point up. We've got people that have joined Mongrel Squad that weren't interested in piracy, but they saw what we did, saw what we could do, and they were like, I just want to be a part of that level of organized gameplay. whenever we've had guys do, you know, we call them inside jobs, they'll join a mining crew and they'll be like, all right, I'm going to act as the mole. Once we finally get to the position of, you know, these guys have enough credits, I'll call you up. You guys come in and hit them, and, you know, like, I'll, you know, like, get taken out too, but I'll just leave with you guys. And just the, you know, the stories that I hear, and, you know, these guys are just sitting there going, all right, all we're doing is going into a cave to mine, and it's an hour in, and we still haven't even gotten to the fucking cave. And it's like, are you serious? Like, if you've watched my stream, then you guys know, like, you know, we'll, on the move, get people organized into teams, be making parties. I'll be talking with the chat, inviting people to party, delegating tasks. Like, you know, I look at
if we have someone that's like, if we have someone that's not ready to do something, we roll without them. We tell them what they need to do and have them go do it. But
yeah.
You know, if we have a person that's like, oh, you know, I got a crime stat, and it's like, well, okay, either go to prison, sort it out, or you know, go hack it. But we're going now, so someone else needs to fill that role. While that person gets whatever it is sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of like how quickly we can mobilize and do something. Like if we're pressed to it, you can get a full squad of mongrels like on scene in the ships they need to be in like 15 minutes, which compared to some orgs is ridiculous. Like just lightning fast.
Impossible. That's what it is to them. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. You know, I used to do stuff with a milsim org, and you know, it was like once a week. There's the predetermined place. Go there, and we're gonna hop in ships with some Cuddy Reds. We're gonna go fly out. We're gonna do like some FPS combat. It's like, okay, cool. So why an hour and a half after it started is somebody still looking to go buy a fucking penguin doll at New Babbage because they want to bring it? And it's like, why are you even at New Babbage? We're supposed to be at Hurston an hour and a half ago.
Yeah. So, but coming back to the point, what do we get out of it? We get fun. Like, it's fun what we do. Like, we have fun doing it. And, you know, we do experience our frustrations when, you know, like, hits don't go our way. We, you know, at times, sometimes we get outplayed by the person that we're hitting. And it's like, shit. You know, like, they beat us. And we learn. And we go, all right, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Like, I know maneuvers of how to outmaneuver a mantis so that, you know, a caterpillar can escape. Because I've experienced it where I've been flying the mantis against a caterpillar and this pilot's done these maneuvers and was able to outmaneuver me. Was able to outmaneuver the EMP ships concurrently. And I was amazed by that. And I'm like, I had a lot of respect for that pilot that did that. It was frustrating as fuck because I'm like, well, you know, like, if we're going to be the best pirate all getting around, then we should have been able to take this guy down regardless of the maneuvers that they're doing. But we learn. And we focus on trying to make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes. So, you know, it's fun. We get experience out of it. You know, we make good friends. We have a lot of, you know, good times, good memories. And other orgs, I don't know. Like, you know, some people get their 5 minutes of fun out of it. A lot of people get frustrated. I can tell you now, like, when it comes to us organizing events, like, there's a high expectation on getting things done within a, you know, short period of time. And I can tell you now, like, a lot of people have just tolerated orgs that they're in because they're like, well, I don't know any better. I haven't seen anything better yet. So I'm just going to stick with what I know.
Sound like an abusive relationship.
Yeah, it almost is in that sort of sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, one of the things that I've always tried to maintain is, well, we have to be highly organized with what we do because it's hard what we do. When I created Mongrel Squad, you know, like, it's in the Org's manifesto. Like, I want to create an organization that I can take into difficult situations and come out on top. And that means that, you know, there's a certain level of dedication required to being good at the game. And that also means that you've got to have a certain mindset and a certain attitude to the way that you play. And part of that is like being courteous to everybody else in the team, so that if you're told to be somewhere at a certain time, that you're there at that time. Now, you know, another org philosophy, real life comes first. So if you can't be there at that time, that's fine. The org's just going to move without you. And when you're able to catch up, we'll integrate you straight away, get you into a position, get you into a ship, you know, get you caught up with what's going on, and then you're just expected to perform. And to make sure that our members can perform, we train. Now, a lot of people don't like that sort of mentality. That's not what they're looking to get out of Star Citizen. They just want to, you know, sit there, vegetate on their keyboard and, you know, like break rocks and, you know, make numbers go big. If that's what they want to do, like, you know, if that's
make
what they
pretty
want to
brochures.
do, that's what they want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, like, we get fun out of what we do. So when people sit there and they, you know, call us arseholes and stuff like that, I just don't care. I don't laugh. Like, yeah, it can be a bit of a dick thing of what we're doing, but it's like, I enjoy what we're doing because there's certain aspects that you just do not see nor understand with what we do and how we do things that, you know, I find fun. I find mining boring as batshit, but I'll still put myself through it to learn the mechanics of how it works, to learn how, you know, you do mining so that I know how to deal with miners better when I'm being a pirate. Same with cargo hauling. People find that therapeutic. I find that boring as batshit. There's a level of satisfaction that Dobbs has mentioned that at the end of a hit, you know, it's, you know, you're just sitting there in a high. I can tell you now, like, there was a moment of pride that I had in Mongrel Squad when we did Convoy Strike, the video Convoy Strike, where we hit Sigelion. The amount of time and preparation that we put into that hit, and the amount of coordination that was being involved there, like, it was a convoy hit, and we had prepared ourselves as best as we could, and it almost went off without a hitch. Like, you know, even when the plan had to change, everyone involved was able to adapt. Everyone. Nobody sat there and went, oh, I can't handle this, I can't do this. It was like, alright, sweet, the plan has changed. People are moving. Now, what's expected of me? Sweet, I'll go and do that. At no point did I have to sit there, you know, like I was telling people, updating the plan as it went. You know, like, for that hit, I was going to be leading the boarding team for the convoy to take down the convoy master's ship. I was in the back of the Cutlass Red for the entire fucking hit. And I was commanding it, and things were happening without me having to be directly involved beyond me telling people, alright, just change your positions, do this thing. Everybody else was able to perform the jobs that they did. So in that moment, I had a moment of pride in what the org was able to achieve just through me telling them what to do. Through what we had built together, through, you know, like, the skill level that we had attained by that point. And, you know, I can tell you now, like, miners won't be feeling pride about the rocks that they broke. You know, they'll feel a short period of happiness when they find, you know, a really good rock, but at the end of it, they're not just sitting there going, you know, I was really proud that I did that. They'll be like, alright, I need to get this back and make, you know, the numbers get bigger. Because that's really what Star Citizen is at the moment, just make the numbers bigger, right?
Make the numbers bigger!
But for us, like, you know, we don't really care about those numbers beyond it being a motivating factor to try and hit a goal. Dobbs mentioned it earlier. We were going for a goal on credits for 311. We hit it. The first goal that I set for the org was we need to pirate 15 million credits worth of
Didn't it start out
really
as,
when it comes to
I
piracy.
feel like it started out less than that.
No, it was 15 million. I set 15 million to start with. And then we hit 15 million, and there was still, I thought it was going to be another month, and I'm like, alright, shit, we can go for 20. Turns out we only had 2 weeks and we hit 18. Or close to it. So for us, it was like the numbers only mattered in terms of motivating people to go out there and do piracy so that we could hit our goal. Now, people sit there and will argue, oh, well, you know, like buying ships, the reason why they make those numbers bigger is because they're buying ships and stuff like that. It's like, alright, fair enough. That's what you want to do, then what? You get the ship, you start using it, and then what? Go for the next one, then the next one, then you got all the ships, and then what? For us though, piracy is an experience. And it doesn't matter, you know, like you can't put a price on those experiences because none of them are the same. Sometimes it'll be like almost identical. You know, like hitting caterpillars is almost formulaic for us now when we got the team on site. We've changed it up a bit and we have failed hits recently because, you know, we've gone, alright, well, let's just see what we can do without, you know, the QED ship there. And then we watch the target quanta travel away and we're like, yep, guess we should have made sure the QED ship was on site. We were like, oh, whatever. We'll get the next one. So yeah, what we get out of it, fun, experience, and good memories. And in the end, when you're playing a video game, what else are you looking for? Alright, I think we've waffled on long enough. So yeah. Alright, well that's pretty much it for this segment now. So, on my right, your left, you got Dobbs all the way over on the left hand side there, representing Captain Flint from Black Sails. In the center, you've got the tribute to Delamar, Rip Delamar. We'll see you soon. Then you got the jackalope of cosmic proportions, CosmicJackalope.
Don't be fat.
And then you got me, Agent Sleddy. And that's it for tonight. We hope that this has provided some insight into why players are doing piracy now in Star Citizen. The Mongrel Court Star Citizen Piracy Talk Show is our monthly roundtable talk show where we discuss topics related to piracy that are relevant now or in the very near future. We are looking for topics related to piracy to discuss for our February video. If you have a Star Citizen Piracy related topic that you would like to see discussed for our next Mongrel Court session, then comment below with your suggestion. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you get to see new content drops that we put out on a weekly basis. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time when Court's in session.